Black Bipolar Female, Episode 31, My Fellow Inpatients, Matthew. Niece, after officially checking myself into the Girl Interrupted Hospital, I also began to pay closer attention to what was being said in my group therapy sessions. I didn't like anything about group therapy. I never felt like I had anything in common with anyone in any of the groups, and I did not feel better sharing my problem with strangers. I typically sat in group annoyed, staring at the clock, waiting for it to end. But one day I sat across from a gentleman with gray bushy hair on his head and a gray bushy beard covering most of his face. He spoke with his head down and his hands clasped. And he spoke very softly, so everyone had to be very quiet in order to hear what he was saying. He mentioned something I'd never heard of before, ECT. I had no idea what he was referring to, but I listened intently, because as I listened, I learned that he was in a PhD program, and he was in the midst of writing his thesis, but he was also battling depression. The depression was so bad that it forced him to withdraw from school, and then he had to go through this ECT treatment. But one of the major side effects of the treatment was memory loss, and he feared that once his depression was over, he would have lost his memory. And within his mind was all the research he had done to complete his thesis. He kept trying to get as much writing done as he could on his thesis while he still remembered everything. But his treatment continued. It was becoming harder and harder for him to remember all the research he had done. It was then that I began to fear this treatment I'd never heard of before. I learned that ECT means electroconvulsive therapy or electroshock treatment. It is done in severe cases of depression. I wondered if at some point in the past few months in the hospital, I had become that depressed and possibly been given the treatment, but had somehow forgotten that I received it. Could they do something like that to me without my consent? And would I not remember if they had? I ultimately came to the conclusion that I'd never had ECT. It was a very involved process, and there was no way I could have gone through it without knowing. Matthew sounded more and more depressed as the days passed. Eventually, he stopped coming to groups altogether. I wished I'd had the courage to talk to him, but I had no words of reassurance. I feared for him the way I feared for myself, and my fear kept me silent. He was living my nightmare, and there was no way I could ever say that to him. I didn't want to say anything to him that would make him feel worse, and I didn't want to know any more than I already knew about what he was going through, for fear that I would feel worse for gaining a deeper understanding of how he was truly feeling. I had to protect myself from a downward emotional spiral rooted in someone else's experiences, because sometimes that happens to me. I can be brought down by the depressed moods of others. So I always try to be careful of who I'm talking to and what we're talking about. Sometimes when I have a conversation with someone who is feeling down, they can walk away from the conversation feeling better, and I can walk away from the conversation feeling worse. So I always try to be mindful of who I give my energy to. Oftentimes, people take positive pieces of you and leave dead spots in their place. Until next time, this is your Aunt Sia saying, stay strong, stay healthy, and know that you are loved.
We can learn together, we can grow forever.
Hey, it's the best kept secret.
We can learn together, we can grow forever. I am not my hair, I am not my skin. I am a vessel of love and soul within. I am black bipolar female. I am black bipolar female. I am not my hair, I am not my skin. I am a vessel of love and soul within. I am black bipolar female. I am black bipolar female. Let me tell you where I've been, who I am, what I do, where I stand, how I live, what I think, what I love, what I am. Black bipolar female. Yes, ma'am. Any questions you could ask, what I don't know I will pass. I will help you understand all the ups, all the downs, all the smiles, all the frowns, all the whys, all the hows. Walk the journey with me, the road is full of wows. We can learn together, we can grow forever. We can learn together, we can grow forever.